I've been playing a fair bit of tech lately, and I wasn't happy with the build order I had. So in this video, we're going to go over the new one I've got, where you look to get every single advanced mechs up at 6 minutes 30, hand off T2 to your ally, and guarantee that even if there's a win stall, you're still going to be on time. Let's get to it. Okay, so let's get to it. We start off on the south side here. We want to make sure that when we are starting off that our mexes are intersecting our starting circle perfectly. You can see we're putting it down here, and then we're going straight into winds. From here, I looked at a couple of different options. I will just start out by saying that I've looked to optimize this as much as I can. I've tried a 4-max opening where we start down here, a 4-max opening where we start up here, but in the end, this was the best that we could find. So shout out to Chronopolize. He's actually playing in this game, OS 46. He was sending me some good messages, and we were talking quite a bit about optimization. So I'm confident that we found pretty much the best thing that you can do in the tech spot if you're looking to, well, if you're looking to achieve, let's just put it that way, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, right? We all want to get our T2 as fast as we can, we want to help our allies as fast as we can, and then we want to start scaling as fast as we can. So after this, you'll see something interesting. We're going into an early storage here. We've got relatively low wind, and that's one of the things I love about this build, is that even if you have a wind stall here at 1.8, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we're going to be going into this energy storage. So if you compare that over to our opponent, who is sitting on 4 wins at the moment, you can see that he's actually stalling on his energy, whereas us, you know, we're moisturized, we're absolutely fine. So I like throwing down however many wins you need, not to excess. Once you start excessing, then you should be putting energy into an energy storage. If your energy starts to go down because of that, then you can add in another win. Don't be afraid to shuffle your build power between those two. And then I think this wind right here might actually be a mistake. I'll say that right now. We do end up going with 7 wins before the bot lab, but I think that can probably be left to after. But anyway, let's move on. So base building is very intentional here. Bot lab always to the south. Now keep in mind you can do this on either side of the map. You just invert it for the other side. You cannot do this with core though. You can only do this with arm. So keep that in mind. If you're playing the tech eco spot, you need to be playing arm. So we're going to now put down our wind turbine at the back here, and we're just going to shuffle in energy anytime that we need to. First Lazarus is going to come out up to these trees. We have a look in the queue. We've got a second Lazarus followed by 2 construction bots because our ally has asked for one. So this construction bot is now going to come out. He's going to eat the rocks. So we do that by right-clicking, and then we're just going to eat all of the trees. Then we've got our constructor bot. This constructor bot is going to head straight up towards the north, needs to build that metal extractor as quickly as we possibly can. A little bit of idle time there on the commander. We're not guarding up the bot lab, unfortunately. And now it gets to a little bit of a delicate stage here. So what we need to do is we need to put down 2 con turrets, and we need to put down our advanced bot lab. And then once we've done that, we need to shuffle. I don't know what the juggle. Juggle is probably the right word. Sorry. We need to juggle build power between those 3 things. So here we've begun putting down the first of the 2. There's the 3. I see your YouTube channel. Hello, smart boy. Hope you're doing well over there, my friend. Yes, so now we've got this. So what we're doing is we're just ever so slowly putting that build power in here, just occasionally. Just come back over here. Really key to do that. The best way to do that is just by holding down spacebar. So you're going to hit spacebar, and then we're going to start reclaiming. At the same time, we're making sure that we always look to try and keep our metal low because we may get paid at any point in time. So we want to make sure that we're never getting close to capping. That payment comes through from air, and this payment, I will just say right now, is expected. This is, I would say, once you start getting to higher OSs, this is mandatory, okay? But you should be requesting to people, so you should be asking them, hey, can you pay? Please pay for T2. That is very, very important, and of course, he's also, this is quite a good ally, he's also paid for the T1 bot as well. So we've got lots of metal here, but it's just the metal that we're going to be giving to him. So he's already paid for that bot, and that's part of this strategy. So, our con is now coming back in. You can see that we've thrown down a total of 10 wind turbines. We're now looking to reclaim this, making sure that we're always keeping our metal relatively low, and now looking to blow up our commander. Now, the commander is an interesting thing because we need to make sure that our con turrets are going to be able to suck him up because they've got quite a lot of build power here. So the best thing that you can do is just have a look at your con turret. You can select it, and the way that you determine where to blow your commander up is you just blow him up on the very edge of that con turret. So we'll have a look right here, and you'll see the commander is going to blow, and we're just going to make sure that we move him right towards the edge. And then he may do a little bit of damage to like your advanced bot lab, but as you can see, we're absolutely fine here. And now that our timing for T2 lab is pretty decent. You can see here, we're looking at about a 3:55 on the T2 lab. And that's part of the reason why we can get away with all 4 mexes. So immediately the T2 or the construction bot comes straight in. And you can see our energy. We don't have any conversion here, and that is because we don't need conversion here. This energy exists purely so that we can get all 4 of our T2 mexes up as quickly as we can. We also need to request a stalk or a transport from our air player right here. He's playing ARM, unfortunately. And what we're going to do is we're now going to once again juggle build power. And this is where it gets really difficult. So what we need to do is we need to stick our stalk on fly mode instead of land mode, because he loses a lot of time when he lands. And now what we're doing is we're just building the blueprints for our advanced mexes. Here we're now still quite early, 4 minutes 30, still very early in this game. We've now got the 3 blueprints down. We're going to move up, and we've also moved our construction bot, and we're making sure that every 5 or so seconds we're always coming back here and just tapping each of these 2 mexes. And once the construction bot is up here, we'll start him up. He'll be able to hold that. We're now going to go gift this con over, and you can see we're still at the 4-minute 50 mark. This is very early. Our first mex has been completed. We're going to continue juggling build power onto these 2nd and 3rd mex here. We drop it down, queue up the mexes, hand over the ownership to our ally. He's paid for his T2. He's got his T2, and it's still on time. And this allows us right now. So if we go take a look at where our enemy is, he's probably relatively close to us. You can see he's actually got his first mex up. He's got the 2 at the back here. He's also got a whole bunch of energy converters that he doesn't really need, but that 4th mex still not yet started, which is somewhat standard. I would just say that it's quite standard, but because we're getting this so much earlier, normally you're looking at like a 4:20 T2 timing. Because this is so much earlier, it means that you're able to come in here and pick this up. And because of that, it means we're going to be getting more than 2,000 metal advantage over our opponent on the other side. We can then leverage that extra metal bonus that we've got into additional units that we can scale with. So that means more butlers. That means, you know, think about it. Imagine if someone just gave you 2,000 metal. You know, why wouldn't you take it? So while it's very important to make sure Air gets their T2 con so that they're able to get all of their advanced mexes up, it's also really important that you get this 4th mex up, because if you're waiting until, say, 8 minutes for this metal extractor, advanced metal extractor to come online, you're losing out a huge amount here, because let's take a look. These ones over here doing 2.3. Actually, we can't click them. 2.3, whereas our big ones are doing 9.2. So it's really quite important that we get this up online. One of the issues that you'll have is we now see that the butler has come out, the first of the butlers. We've also moved our nano over here. Is we're now going to be splitting up. We want to start scaling our energy, and there it is at 632. So we're going to start scaling our energy now and making sure that we've got that. The next point is where your game is going to be very dependent on... So basically, up until this point, every opening should look identical to this, with the exception of maybe if there's a leak that comes through. If like a leak comes through from the front and they somehow manage to get all the way back, and you know your air player isn't core, they're ARM, so they can't make shurikens, you might have to make units. But other than that, this is pretty much stock, standard, perfect, don't have to change it. It obviously is susceptible to a very bad wind stall. I will just say that right now. Obviously, if wind stalls for like 5 minutes, then yeah, bro, it's gonna hurt, right? But the whole idea here is that we're going to be able to do that. So now from here, what we're going to be looking to do is hand out constructors to our allies. But one thing to note is because of that metal that we've got from here, we've actually got quite a build up. So this is quite important, and probably one of the things that I could have done better here is move this nano back just to assist with the lab while we're in this sort of downtime. You can see I've got a whole bunch of butlers in queue. I don't actually think when it comes to butlers, so I'm trying to work out what the correct number of butlers is, and I don't think there's actually a correct answer. I think it more comes down to a timing. So what I mean by that is that if you've got really good wind, right? If you've got 19 wind from like now until 14 minutes, you're going to come out of this with like 70 butlers. But if you've got like mediocre wind, you might only have 30 butlers, because however many winds, or like however strong wind is, will determine how many winds you can make, because the wind gets converted from energy into metal at the energy converters, and therefore you can make more butlers. That means you can make more wind. So essentially what I'm currently positing is I think that a reclaim at about the 14-minute mark is the most optimal thing to do. I'm still not 100% sure on that. It might be a little bit earlier than that, but yeah, somewhere in that region. It normally ends up with about 40 or so butlers. And so from here, what we're going to be doing is just scaling our energy. We're also going to be scaling our metal. And we're very fortunate in this game. So as you can see, we've got some pretty skilled players in these lobbies. We've got XTZ on our team playing from the Geo position. We've got Kairos. So they're doing a really good job. And I'll be honest with you, I don't need to do anything to actually win this game. So it was a great opportunity for me to actually sit down and go, okay, here I can show the build, show off how it works. One of the mistakes I will say right now that I'm making in this game is I'm not handing out T2s when I should be. Keep in mind that you should always be handing out T2s to your allies, even if they don't pay for them, because the metal that you're going to be receiving from the perspective of the team is just insane. Like the return on investment. If we look here, you're paying 430 metal. That's going to pay itself off so quickly with these advanced metal extractors. So just getting them out there is really important. But I kind of forgot about it. Like we handed off the first one to air, the second one to GOC, and then we kind of just forgot about pond and we forgot about the sea to the south. And so we do eventually remember, and as a consequence of that, we just make sure we get them in queue and use our transport to move them out. Another thing to note is that with butlers, you always want to keep them in groups of 3. You also want to have them do this. So the way that you do this is you just grab you press Z and then C, and then you hold down Shift and Alt, and you do that, and then you're going to make that row, and then you're just going to cancel out the row in the middle. And then that allows them to walk up the middle doing wins on both sides. Now, there's other ways that you can do it as well. Like I've seen play, like here as an example, I'm using the nano, and I was using like one con turret here, one butler on this side, and I'm just filling in wherever the nano can reach just with those ones. So that was something I was kind of like trialing in this game. I don't think it's probably a good thing long term. It's probably better just to move that nano back and just have him helping out, because as you can see, we've got quite a lot of build power here, and we're looking to get ready to utilize this build power here. So one of the things that you might need to do early on, instead of handing out T2s, if your front is getting pushed, after you've got your mexes up, that's very key, and after you've got a couple of butlers out so that you can at least start scaling your energy, you can look to get a sniper out or 2, and one of the things that you can do is use your transport that you will have. Oh, I've pressed the wrong button, sorry. Use that transport that you've got and put them up here. And basically it means that your snipers are very difficult to be killed. They can be killed, but it's quite difficult for them to do that. So you can move one up there, and it really doesn't slow you down that much. Of course, you know, technically it does slow you down, you know, whatever it is, 680 metal, which could be wins, and that wind could then be converting into metal, which is going to be then converted into more wins. You get the idea, right? Like it's all it all returns back to wind. And so what we're going to be doing here is, because we've got so many butlers, we really need places that we can put our buildings, because if we take a look here, like we want to make sure, let me see if I can get this line of sight corrected. Okay, there we go. We want to make sure that we're building our buildings in places where people don't really care about. So places where people very rarely build. So obviously we've got all of this free space to take advantage of. We've got this part right here. We've got all of this to take as well. Sometimes I come down here, but I've been leaving it a little bit more recently. Another spot that people just don't take is like right down here behind Beach C, all along here as well. I like to leave this part right here for the front, so I would recommend you don't do that. But one of the key things to note is that when you are balancing these out, you want to initially start off with about a 2-to-1 ratio. So that's like 2 sets of butlers to 1 set, or 2 sets of butlers building wins, 1 set of butlers that are building your energy converters. But one thing is going to happen around the 19 to 20 minute mark. What you actually need to do is start shifting all of your butlers, and I'm going to reveal it right now. This is actually my secret to superior scaling in bar, at least from this eco spot. You need to move all of your butlers onto energy converters. You actually don't want to start making T2 energy converters for a long time. They are very heavy when it comes to BP, build power or build points. They're also quite heavy on the metal cost, and that metal, well, of course, it could be more energy. It could be an APHIS, it could be a fusion, it could be something that you're investing in. So because of that, often what I like to do is get up to about 1,000 wind turbines, and then from there begin transitioning everybody over onto those energy converters. So I like to get about 2 sets of butlers up here running around. Sometimes you get a 3rd set in. The air player often likes to use this area as well. Down here on the back side, we look to try and get that that area all done. We've also got our anti-nuke coming in, quite important. Now, I will just say, the only time you would ever really go for an umbrella, in my mind, is if you actually scout that the enemy is going for an early nuke. Otherwise, I think it's probably better just to go for the Citadel, just because, number one, it's like basically the same cost, and number two, it's going to give you so much more area that it covers, because one of the things that you'll do is you'll have that anti-nuke up here, and he'll be patrolling back and forth, but he covers nowhere near the area that the Citadel covers. So I think it's quite important to get this online. So now we're getting up to that point where we're looking to reclaim our T2 lab. So just to quickly pause it before we reclaim the lab, because I still see this as kind of like something that's a bit undiscovered, because I don't know exactly yet. Like, as I said, I've done a lot of testing on this, but not everything I'm 100% on just yet. So far, we're 100%. So if we take a look at the eco on the other side, okay, he hasn't been damaged in any way. Everything he's done so far, and like he's a pretty good player, right? OS 35. He's a good player. Everything that he's done up until this point, you know, he is he's done that without issue. He's given off a couple of wins over here to PTAC. But if we take a look at him, he's got 2.15 energy coming through, and we're at 2.86k. Now, that's when we're sitting below average wind. In fact, we're almost about half of average wind on this map. And so what's going to happen is, if we take a look here, you'll see that he has got 122 wins, and we're sitting on, well, how many are we sitting on? We're 254. So we've got double, actually, we've got a lot more than that. We've got 300. And we're going to have some more up over here, and we're making some over there. So about 307. So essentially, when wind inevitably returns to that higher wind speed, which we'll keep an eye on as we're about to reclaim, the fact that he has reclaimed his lab has meant that he has not been able to make as many butlers as we have. If we take a look, he's got 3. He's got another 9, so 12 in total. So he's got 12 butlers. So he is scaling wind, he is scaling his energy converters, but not the same level that we are. And if we go back over to this side, as wind is now approaching the average of the map, 14.2, you'll see that we're now on 4.8k, whereas he is only on 3k. So we're already starting to really get ahead. And keep in mind, that is largely just because of that early infusion, not infusion of metal, but just by having that metal earlier than him, works out to be about 2,000 metal more. So now this is where we decide, okay, 14-minute mark. For me, that's my current point. And we take a look at the butlers that we've got. We've got about 40 butlers here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to use those butlers to reclaim this lab. And once we've reclaimed the lab, we're then going to be building a fusion. Now, to reclaim the lab, keep in mind that if we have a look at how much metal is in there, 2,900, keep in mind it's also got storage on it, this lab, so it's got 200 storage, so we will overflow immediately. So we need to have the metal storage before we do that. So boom, it's gone. We've now got 4,000. We always want to build a fusion first, in my opinion, just because while technically we could build an APHIS right now at 125 metal per second, the trouble that you've got is the build power. And while technically we could do it, it's going to take so long for us to scale our build power, because as you can see, we don't really have a whole lot of build power here, whereas with the fusion, it's just a very quick to build thing. And the sooner it comes online, well, of course, the sooner these energy converters start converting their energy into metal. So this is effectively about 14 to 15 metal per second. So the sooner we get this online, the sooner it's going to start contributing. And then after that, we can go into our APHIS once we've scaled our build power in the base. So that's my thinking. And we'll take a look at after this fusion is complete as well, just to try and get a bit of an idea at the difference between these two. So at the moment, we're sitting at 8.2k, whereas he's on 5.5k. So we're about 3k up. We're effectively an APHIS up at the moment, and that's about to obviously change. Still sitting at 19 win. He's at 5.6k, and we're almost double him now, almost at 10k. So 9.7k on that energy, and that's largely just because of that extra scaling that we've had. And keep in mind that this is all possible because of the build order. If you think about it, right, like we need to hand off our T2 to air quickly, but at the same time, if we build our T2 extra early, it means that we've got the extra time to drop that T2 up here so we can get this AMEX down. If you take a look at what the build order he did, it's a very good build order. It's a competitive build order. If I had him on my team doing that build order, I'd be very, very happy because he gets it on time. But the trouble is, he's only going to get those 3 mexes, and that's the secret sauce to this build. At least that's the way that I see it. So from here, as you can see, like our team is absolutely demolishing the enemy. We haven't had to do anything, but that doesn't mean the game is over. So I think we can probably speed it up a little bit here. So what you can see is happening is we're at 16 minutes 30, and I know roughly how long it's going to take for these to build. So what we're going to do is now just get them to come up and start building in blocks. So just making sure whenever we build our wins, we always want to build them like this. And the reason why is because it's harder for them to chain, a lot hard for them to chain. They technically can chain, however, it's very difficult for them to actually do that. We also want to make sure that we are building 2 blocks away, or 2 tiles away, I guess is the best way. So here we're building 3 tiles away. That's fine, because that will, if that explodes, it will affect these as well. Fortunately, it won't chain down the line, but it will still, it'll still affect us. So back towards the base, we're now looking to get that first Aphis up. We can't, at this point, we can't compare it to the opponent because, as you can see, our allies are just doing what they do, and we're just having a lovely day on the back line at the eco, just building our Aphises, having a lovely time. I assure you, we do make units eventually, and we do win the game for our team. But I mean, the game's already over at this point, so yeah, there's no point in us even comparing. Yeah, he's at 2.3k. But anyway, you can see from the timing here, we're looking at like a 1730 Aphis, which to me doesn't really mean anything because we're at 16k energy and the Aphis is only contributing 3k, so really not a big deal. Now, when it comes to base building, I will just say I've got a very specific base style. I actually picked this up from David Skinner, so shout out to you. And it's the air style, or your air base. I love it, man. And there's a couple other little things that I really like how he's cooking, so I'll let you know. If you haven't checked out David Skinner, check him out. Anyway, let's speed up a little bit just to take a look at base building here. So what we're doing is we're building our Aphises in a row of 4. Well, at the moment, we're actually building an Arbalest because, well, we've got incoming attacks. Our ally decided it was a good idea to go double Aphis with no fighters. Look, sometimes it happens, sometimes it works, but unfortunately today wasn't the day. The enemy air player the enemy air player was greedy already in the sense he went 2 fusion into advanced aircraft plant. Our guy just he went 2 Aphis, bro. Mad respect. Fortunately, didn't pay off for him. This is part of the reason why I really think air is quite a coin flip. It's very much about scouting and understanding how much your enemy's got and just going 1 step above them, because if you go 6 steps above them, they just bomb you and you die. So yeah, it's one of the harder things with air. So, just to explain base building a little bit with what regard to what's going on here. So this is 4 wide, and we always build to the grid, makes it much easier to build, and we always build our central Aphises first. And the reason why is because all of these nanos, or at least all of them, should be hitting. This is just weird positioning on the nanos. Not switching to air. I will switch to air at some point. I say that right now. It was probably a little bit too late, and I definitely shouldn't be making these fusions right now, so I 100% made mistakes here. After you've got bombed like that and you've seen your ally die immediately, the first thing you should do is to switch to air straight away. So big mistake from me for going into these Aphises. But don't worry, that's not foreshadowing. So we want to build our Aphis in the center, at least initially, so more of our nanos can hit, and then we will build our Aphis on the edges as we move on. And the way that we'll build our base is, so on this side, we'll have our energy converters. We'll also have our energy converters up here as well. And we will also build more energy converters somewhere out here-ish. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building our advanced aircraft plants in a big line here. So basically we have a row of nanos down here. We can actually go 5 wide. And then from there, we put down our advanced aircraft plans. So that's exactly what we're doing right here. And then these nanos, so basically we can choose when we want to add in more air and when we want to add in less air. And by the way, this is a mistake here. You'll see that we're building 2 Aphis at the same time. Massive mistake from us. I think I got a little bit kerfuffled there by the enemy when they went for that raid. And yeah, as a result, we're making 2 Aphis at the same time. So don't do what I do. So yeah, from here, the way that you control when you're building air is if you just drop an Aphis on this side. If you want to build air, you build the Aphis on this side. If you don't mind, then you can build it in the middle, and if you don't need air, then you can build it on this side. Then that way, it really gives you quite a lot of control, and you can pick and choose. And as the game goes on, this is definitely one of the best ways to spend your metal. You can see we're 21 minutes into this game, so we've definitely slept for quite some time. We could have come online probably at 17, 18 minutes. Maybe after the second Aphis would have been fine. But as you can see, we got a little bit of a trouble. A couple salamanders have managed to make their way through. They've blown up all of our energy converters, but fortunately, it hasn't hit any of our wind wind turbines, and now the salamanders are going to look to break through, but that's not the only thing that's going to be breaking through here. As a whole bunch of hailstorms now make their way down. So what do? We grab, let's go to player camera right here. We see the hailstorms coming in. We grab all of our little guys, and we just focus down. Whenever you're focusing down air that's coming in, you always want to try and focus down the furthest one that you can attack. And the reason why is because, like, once the bomber is, like, here, those bombs are dropped. There's no point in killing this bomber. Like, you can kill him the next time he comes around. You always want to be going for, like, the one on the edge of the circle that you can attack and trying to focus that down. So that's essentially it. So we do manage to survive through it. You can see our Arbalist has eaten quite a few of those bombs as well. So fortunately, decent positioning there. We've been overflowing quite a bit of metal here as well, just because, well, obviously, things are getting a little bit crazy. But yes, that's essentially it. So from here, let's speed it up and take a look at exactly what the play is. So from here, the play is quite simple. We're adding in more APHIS, which we shouldn't be doing. If our ally here was alive, this APHIS would be fine. All of these APHISes would be fine. We would still be doing this even if our ally down here was not alive, because we do need to become relevant in the game. We do need to start making units eventually. We can't scale infinitely forever. I mean, you technically could. I have done such games before. But yeah, that's essentially where we're at. So we're building up our air force here. So this air force is going to mitigate the enemy's air force so that we don't get attacked again. And then we're going to find what's a way that we could then convert with this. Well, Marauders doesn't really make sense. You could go for a Ragnarok. That doesn't really make sense. The best way, the easiest way, the smartest way is just going to be with T2 bombers. So you can leverage your defense, use it as an offense, and say, okay, well, we're going to clear out a whole bunch of a whole bunch of the enemy air, and that's going to give us the ability to just completely decimate, control air, and then from there, did Drongo make 53 butlers again? It looks like it. No, I think we made about 40 butlers in this game, just because the wind wasn't there. We had a bit of a wind stall at some point, so the number I have been testing is 51. I think 51 is the correct number of butlers to make, but you can't always get there because, like, you have to reclaim your lab at some point. I mean, technically, you don't have to reclaim your lab, and you could just perpetually just keep making butlers forever, but you're going to run out of space. So if we take a look here, we've got how many wins into... I mean, we're missing a whole bunch of wins there. We lost these. We're missing like 3 rows, but I think it'd be somewhere around 1,000 wins. It's massive overkill. He could be setting up for a bombing run of his own or starting T3 production. I don't think T3 here makes sense. I think the bombing run definitely makes more sense, Alchinar. So I like to go somewhere in the region of like 12 to 15 bombers makes the most sense, just because then you're going to be able to one-shot your enemy APHISes. Advanced Geos need a lot less, so you can get away with like 5 or 6. But we are now looking to finish the game. So we haven't scouted out exactly what the base layout is of the enemy. We don't know if they've got APHISes, so it doesn't give me 100% a target. And because of that, it makes it a little bit more difficult to control here. So we do want to send the fighters ahead just to give us scouting on those targets as well. Meanwhile, back towards the base, so we're just utilizing our double stacked rows here. And so keep in mind, on the other side here, we will be building advanced energy converters. We've also got spam that's coming towards the front. We're now going to clear out the enemy fighters. We're always going to bring our bombers over the top here. Just makes them extra little bit harder to get, gives them a little bit more time. And we're easily able to decimate the air. You can see they're actually building up for a bombing run. We spot the APHIS. Everybody gets told, hey, bomb this APHIS. But unfortunately, we could technically kill it. But this guy right here, I actually told him to attack over here instead. So there's a single APHIS with like 44 health. Did you see that? Look, bottom left, 44 health. Anyway, that one wasn't so lucky. Don't worry, it wasn't a big deal. We would have come back for him anyway. But that is it in the end. I think this is pretty close to probably the most optimal build order. As I said, like we're trying to solve every single position here. And we've solved Geo, IMO. Now we need to solve tech. And if we can get everybody doing this, it's definitely going to see a much stronger tech position. I'm going to be excited for it. In the end, let's have a look and see. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point because we produced 260k metal. And I mean, the guy on the other side produced 44, but he's been dead for all the games. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video a little bit more. I've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed playing these games for this video. So we'll leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well.